All right, as always, I can't tell where to look to know if we're live, but I think we are. Hey, everybody, it is the 3rd of October, Q4, 2023. And this is Gimbalabs Playground. We started season 3 about a month ago in early September. And this brings us to today. We've got Lido Nation here to talk about Catalyst Explorer 2.5. Darlington, always look forward to chances to hang out. And I think I saw Fuffy in the background. Hello. So we get together every Tuesday at 1800 UTC for the playground session. And the agenda looks like this. We just have a quick welcome and announcements. But the real point of being here is to have a presentation from anybody who would like to present on anything. You can pitch a project you're working on. You could just share a brand new idea, ask for feedback, start a conversation. Usually it's some combination of all of the above. And the way it works is like this. Anybody's welcome to present. There's a Miro board right here. I'm going to share the link and put it in the Zoom chat, just in case anybody needs it. If you find an open slot on this Miro board, you can just jot your name or your group's name, what you want to talk about, and a way to get in touch with you. But this is it. This is the official process for presenting at Playground. And once you're here, you are officially scheduled. So next week, Hinson, good old friend of ours, has been working on Cardano name service with some friends. And then we've got some Andamio and Mesh presentations about just ongoing work that we really want to keep bringing next steps to people. But there's a couple days left in 23, and early 2024 is looking wide open. So today, like I said, Catalyst Explorer 2.5 with Darlington. Hey, and welcome. It's good to see you. You're muted, but it's good to have you.
Oh, there we are. Hey, yeah, whenever Zoom goes from full screen and it bounces around when someone is sharing, and it get lost. Anyways, I'm here. Hi, Gimbalabs community, Cardano, everything in between. Hope you all having a good Tuesday, the eve before the hump day. And the category of scoping workshops happening tomorrow in Fun 11. Excited for that. Yeah, speaking of Fun 11, as you know, we got funded. But people watching the recording who may not know who I am and who we are, Lido Nation, we do blockchain education in a space, typically in 3 languages, English, Swahili, and Spanish at lidonation.com. And we also provide a lot of tooling for Project Catalyst. The latter, the tooling, is what brings us here today as presenter. We were recently funded for our Catalyst Explorer 2 for some improvements. So we thought we'd do some workshops in the community, starting with this one, and get some collective brain hive feedback on what those deliverables should and ultimately look like. So what I'm going to do now is just demo where we are now, some of the different functionality of the current tool as it is. And then we will also take a look at what specifically we promised to do in the proposal. And then we'll open up for discussions and workshopping. Let's see. Share the screen. That's great. Okay, we can now see my screen, hopefully. Neat.
Yep.
Perfect. So to get to the tool, it's just lightonation.com/catalyst. It's a short URL that will redirect you to where most people tend to land on here. I've got a little cheat sheet here. I'm just pulling my cheat sheet. So there we are. So yeah, so just for some quick run through, this is live, this is available to anyone, so you can check it out if you haven't seen this before. But we've got a proposal view that lets you see proposal in different formats. Some proposal have little videos associated with them. We ran an experiment with Reddit styled ranking in front 10. I know we have this card view. There's all sorts of filters here that you can play with. Podcast, community ranking, budget, and all sorts of things. Payment received once a proposal is funded. Yeah, so check those out. And then we've got, you can search anything you want in here. What happens if I put in candy? Well, there you go. Candy pop-up campaign. Neat. So it's a fuzzy search. And this is a great way to find people who's working on something you're working on. You can put that in here and see related proposals. And then of course, if you're looking for a specific proposal that was funded in Catalyst, you don't have to know exactly the proposal name. You can put in a person's name in here and it will show you proposals related to that person. And of course, you've got filter. Perhaps you just want open source proposal, only proposals that was funded, search by tags. So that is the proposal view. The proposal view is probably the most developed view that we spend the most time on so far because that's what most people use. And my favorite thing are these search metrics at the bottom. As you are searching, these metrics update to reflect the thing you are currently looking at. Like we had 192 proposals approved, and that's the total awarded amount. You can look at things like amount that's been sent out, how much of these have been completed, and this works for anything you search. It will update. So that's a really great tool for getting high level insight about Project Catalyst fund allocations. Then we've got people, not as developed as the proposal. It's just about finding a specific person. This is useful if you want to message someone in idea skill. You can start here, put in a topic, and find people that talks about Haskell in their proposal, that's built Haskell related things. And the idea is from here, you can message them on idea skill, or you can click on that person's profile to see the exact proposal. And we've got companies. This is a manual effort to scan through all the proposals and try to find associated real world companies and entities or groups, internet groups. So we can track at that level on how fund is being distributed. And there's some sorting here too. The whole recent switch to ADA has made things a little complicated, but we're trying to support both ADA and USD. So this is, so when you see these two numbers, that's why you're going to start seeing these around the site. So there's that. You can check that out. I think that covers it. And there's a bunch of other stuff here that not as developed, the very much early beta. You can check them out if you're curious. The recent heavy effort has been around Catalyst by the numbers, just showing some charts and data about Project Catalyst. We've got some registration data here and some voting block power blocks. Different way to present the same information. We've got some numbers about the fund. A little presentation here. This is the same data from above, but just shown differently. This looks at just the one ADA, one person or one wallet, one vote, and this looks at the ADA power. This is new as of yesterday. So we've gone through and gotten the snapshot for Jormungandr post Fund 10, and then we've checked. We've been checking all 60,000 addresses to see if they voted, and then pulling their votes cast. I think we still have about 6,000 to go. Like if you combine the total confirmed voters versus people that registered but didn't vote, I don't think it quite adds up to 60,000 yet. I'm saying that because I think some of these numbers will change once the remaining 6,000 comes in. It's a manual process that takes 30 seconds to 2 minutes times 60,000. And sometimes things fail. You got to start. You got to start. But some interesting numbers popped up already. I don't think we're going to get much higher than 7,000 confirmed voters. But we've been able to check that 7,800 and change people actually voted in Fund 10 out of the 60,000 that were qualified to vote. It seems like voting for just one proposal was a popular choice in Fund 10. About 1,100 wallets voted for only one proposal, and half the voters voted for 7 proposals or less. So just fun. And then we have more ranges down here, 11 to 25 votes. So you can take a look at those. And I won't go through the rest of these, but these should be changing weekly all the way up to Fund 11. We spent a lot of time there. Yeah, and then the other effort we've launched recently is this concept. It's just to help with some proposal marketing. A lot of people are not great with design and creating marketing. So it's not a big effort. It's not a big thing. You can read about this if you're interested in what we're doing and how we're doing it. Maybe that applies to some of the stuff you're working on. But the big idea is when you share your proposal on the internet, Facebook, Discord, Telegram, Twitter, all the things, instead of getting a generic presentation, we try to generate a educational first impression presentation of the proposal. And each proposal gets their own presentation. This is this is quite the effort to pull this off. We're not stopping here. We just wanted to prototype and prove the concept out. But come Fund 11, you will be able to choose between 4 to 6 or something along those lines. Different previews of your proposal, the one that stands out to you the most. And what would happen when you share your proposal using the Lido link? Would this open in, let's just look at an example here. You would get that presentation with the one that you chose. And the big idea there is maybe you don't care about stars, but you want other types of information to show, like how much proposals you've completed in the past, or if you're a new proposal or not, or any catalyst data that we have, we will try to represent those, provide those as an option. And the big idea there is voters get a nice presentation on the crazy feeds, and hopefully because it's presented nicely, it stands out, and they can either bookmark your idea or click to learn more. As a byproduct of getting the voting data for that charts page, we now have this page that if you don't have the technical skills to download the Yarminganda blockchain and figure out your voting key, to validate that all your votes made it to the blockchain, we have this tool here. You can paste in your stake address. From that, we will determine the voting key for you. We will show you all your registrations. These should be clickable to the Cardano Explorer. And we show you all your votes. So you can see, okay, I voted for 128 things. Looks like 128 things made it to the blockchain. So you can be sure that your votes were counted. The votes are private. So all the stuff in here are going to be encrypted in one form or another. So you can't really tell if it's a yes or a no or who you voted for. But you can see that all your votes made it to the blockchain when you voted. And if you're nerdy and interested in this data, you can download this. It will download a JSON with all of your votes in there, which is pretty cool. The other things, last thing is, this was heavily prototyped during Fund 10. A lot of iteration is coming for Fund 11. Is this logged in area? When you are logged in, we are slowly building our tooling to help you manage your proposal pre and post funding. So all your proposal shows up here. Milestone, now that we have a milestone platform module, we're going to be integrating some of that stuff directly here to help with the whole management of your proposals. And then during the review stage, we have this option for you to respond to reviews. Did we respond to any of these? Respond to reviews that people left of your proposal? And those responses shows up on Lido Nation for everyone to see. Yes, so use that. And then we added the ability to, when you are browsing through proposals, you're able to bookmark the proposal you're looking at, and you can see your existing bookmarks, or you can just create a new one just by typing in whatever, and those bookmarks shows up here, and you're able to then take any of these bookmarks during the voting period and turn it into a draft ballot. And with the draft ballot, you can stage your yeses and your nos. And we have this little tool here to help you see how much of the budget you've allotted as you thumbs up things. Someday you will be able to just submit them to the blockchain directly from this page. I don't know if that will happen in Fund 11. Hopefully by Fund 12, it depends on the state and progress of the open source Catalyst infrastructure project that's being led by the IOG team. So that's where we're at. Where do we go from here? These are some things that we were specifically funded for. Catalyst 2.5. So this is the proposal that we're workshopping today. We were funded to improve the current tooling that I just showed you. Specific things, Catalyst communities. So we have groups where you can go and see information about a group, their funding history, some words that tends to show up in their proposal, team information, their proposal. We will like something similar for communities, because sometimes proposals are part of different communities, but not to a company, like the Latam community or the Cardano for Climate community. And we would like people, maybe the African proposal, East Asia, a landing page so we can see not just the proposals, but the impact of those proposals. And just the overall progress of the proposals from that group, that community. And we would like that to be something people can create, people can manage, maybe even add other off-chain supplemental information. So that's the idea of Catalyst community. And then we have this concept of part of why people use the Lido tool. One is the aggregation and the history and some of that stuff. But a lot of the times, people tend to zoom in around some of the off-chain information we've added, like the groups, the social media profiles, and things along those lines. So we would like some help with that, and we put a line item in our proposal to compensate people for helping with that. So we will be creating a way for you to be able to contribute some of that information that isn't available in Catalyst that would be useful to informing voters. And then something people have asked for in the past is just the ability to show their Lido presentation of their proposal outside of lidonation.com. Maybe you have a website, you want to embed it there. So much like the way SPOs embed the pool PM or the C Explorer cards. So that's coming. And then some of the engagement on this page, the filtering, zoom, comparison, view, we want to bring that to these other pages, just because people use these a lot. Let's see. Yes, the 30-day view on these are Catalyst related searches, the event completions, about 16,000. We just had voting. So actually, I think voting window has passed, right? I don't know, maybe not. But yeah, people query these filters quite often, and I think it would be useful for doing the same thing on these pages and the company pages. So we'll be adding those filters to these pages as well. And then the draft ballot. So we wrote this proposal, but we really couldn't wait for the funding. So we actually started our work. So all the things I showed you about the draft ballot is work that's been done since we wrote this proposal. But there's still some refinements to do. We've gotten feedback on the UI and the UX. There's some performance iterations. So just finishing that draft ballot functionality. And then honorable mention, like I said, it would be nice if you can, once you've done all that work of drafting your proposals and what you're going to vote on, it would be great if you can just submit it on chain. So we will at least like to prototype this, even if it's just on testnet, on the Catalyst testnet environment. We would like to see that work through. So that would be something people can do in the near future, maybe Fund 12. Yeah, so that's the presentation part of this. I'll take that down so I can see your lovely faces. I think some ask, obviously, if you've any thoughts at all, if you get them, I'm ready to notes, and I will probably go back to the recording as well. I want to hear them, but also there's some questions, some leading questions that I've prepared to sort of take the idea we have now and make it something that would be even more useful to people like yourself and anybody who uses the tool. I will pause for yawns or water or comments before I move on to the prompting.
Just want
Thank
to
you for
start
the
with huge
monologue.
kudos. Oh my gosh, dude. It's just to watch this tool go online has been wonderful. And it feels, you can tell it's a labor of love. Like this, the vibe of the whole experience is so different from Idea Scale. And to know that you've built it without, maybe without it being made easy for you, let's say, is really incredible. And just thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm excited to hear what
Absolutely.
questions people have. Yeah.
Yeah, so quick ones. 2.5. So what we're looking at is 2.0. 1.0 was totally, there was no funding for it. It was just stuff that I needed and wanted. And it was a very rapid prototyping. So we did a whole rewrite. And so that felt like a major version bump as opposed to incremental features. And then the 2.5, there's a point for each new feature that is with this current platform and tech stack. Not 3.0, because 3.0, I think what I want to do next with this is go back through and clean things up and document things and open source this and move this away from Light Nation to his own top level domain. So that's that's a roadmap of the 2.5 or 2.0, 2.1 all the way leading to 3.0 that I think we'll be executing on over the next 12 calendar months. Yeah, there's a feature for each point in that 2.5, Nori. I was looking at the comments.
You get some funds on the beginning, darling. With Swarm in early 2022, we sent you some thousand ADA in USD to support Light Donation. When you saw like you're just going nuts with Light Donation, it's so awesome
right.
stuff.
Yes. Swarm was a big help. Before we got funded for the 2.0 version, right, when we launched the first version, Swarm was a big help with that. And also that fund was timely because the way I worked, that it made a bunch of money that made me able to do this without being paid. That company closed. So I needed to yeah, so there was a perfect timing. The Swarm support was the perfect stopgap between employments. Definitely grateful for that. Everyone who's part of Swarm. Yeah, this is true. Thanks, Felix and the crew. Anything else before we get into some of the or any discussions that you guys would like to kick off with before I give some of my top level discussion buckets?
Oh, I had just one technical question along the way. When you were showing the responding to comments feature for a proposal, does that feed back into the Idea Scale API, or are those responses specific to Lido?
They are specific to Lido. They do not feed to the API because there's technically not an accessible API, with Idea Scale. That is something we've never been able to get access to. I would love for it to feed back to the API, But I think that's the world we're going to with some of the new stack, that it will be able to feedback and be visible in other systems. So let's see. Well, what I would like, because so far, every single thing I showed and everything that's on my site has been that person over there, my co-founder, Lady Lido, Fluffy. She asked me a question. How would I find out this thing? Or what is the answer to this? And if I don't know it, I build it into the tool. So it's that, or I wanted something, and so I built it. Or someone sent a DM and said, Lido, it would be nice, blah, blah, blah. So that's how all the features came about. Obviously, Cardano is much bigger than the two of us and the 7 people that have DM'd me things. I see 14 new people here. I guess 13, not counting myself. I would love to know, one, if you used the tool, and then was there anything that you would have liked to work differently, or something that if added will make the tool work better for you? And it would be good if you thought of it as a personal thing, not, I'm not asking you to be a product designer, right? So be selfish. Because that's how I built the tool. It was my own selfish. So yeah, I would love to hear some responses to that.
One thing we always struggled a little bit in community, we had several times the attempt to map out a little bit, okay, where are individuals actually engaging in the ecosystem? Because lots of people wearing lots of different hats. And I think you're going down already this road also a little bit with credentials and stuff there. Maybe some sort of way where it's actually easy to understand the Catalyst ecosystem and the community from a larger scope, because I think you have already some beautiful data, maybe to transform it into some sort of really nicely visualized knowledge graph on individuals to see, where do they engage? Who are these people actually that really be related to their past and history? Because I think there's something what on community side we really don't have and struggle to get anything on place. I think you're just in a perfect position to maybe push a little bit on this.
Yeah, that's a great idea on this knowledge graph and just how people are connected. That's some of that. Highlighting the contribution incentives. I'm hoping we can discover a process that really works to get a lot more off-chain data included into this data set. Yeah.
Hey, Darrington. Love your work as ever. Just the tool keeps coming on leaps and bounds every time I open it up. So it's staggering what you managed to get done. Really good. Some of the things on my wish list as you opened it up to that. I would love to. So a global flag in all the pages for the current fund or something like that. Just to be able to say, yeah, set all my filters to fund 10 and just stay like that until I change it. Otherwise, would have been very useful. Gathering the proposals that I'm interested in into a big pick list with bookmarks was very useful, and my delegators were all very interested in what I was voting for, and I was pushing them to vote. So then it's like, well, what do I vote for? Because I don't have a clue. And I think that's probably why we see, what was it, 1,200 wallets only voting for a single proposal. They're basically the people harvesting the incentive. But that's kind of what we want to see. We want to see people engage in any level, and then they'll start getting drawn into, oh, okay, I'm starting to read things. And yeah, so this is a great way just to tap them in. And having a way to share my bookmark list before the vote and then after as well with the results would be very cool. So you could just see, and even for just myself, I could go in and see instantly, okay, these are the winning proposals, these are the losing. That'd be very nice. Yeah, the bookmark list is a really handy feature. So embellishing on that any way you can would be great. And yeah, there's always little bits that come to me as I'm using it. It's like, oh, that'd be nicely tweaked. But I think, but if it really is just the two of you inspiring the design and UI on this, then you're doing a phenomenal job. You have the heart of me, certainly in your work. So well done.
Thank you.
I'm curious what your intentions for the connector wallet features are and going to grow out to be, and what sort of ideas you have along those lines.
Yeah. Well, right now in the connector wallet, and I think that's a very rough alpha beta that sometimes break, but it's meant to be an alternative to email. Currently to be an alternative to email password login. So you should be able to use your wallet as the thing that you create an account with for creating a pick list and sharing that and that stuff. But the other thing I want to use it for too, is the ability for you to connect multiple wallets that's linked to the one that you connected. And this is still maybe coming for front end, we'll see. But I want to issue credentials for stuff. I think there should be a crap of credentials being issued, like the same way we had crazy NFTs for everything and airdrops. So I want to issue I voted NFTs so you can connect your wallet there and get those credentials. But the stuff that Stevie and his gang is working on is super, super cool. With the role-based access control based on the wallet that's connected, being able to edit a proposal, being able to like have other actions besides just read on different catalyst systems. So at some point, the connect your wallet would be the preferred login, like the thing that shows up all the time when you try to log in. And then any features that's associated with that wallet around Catalyst and voting and stuff, we will just be pulling in those for you and giving you, quick links to other parts of the ecosystem that's tied to that wallet profile. Yeah, that is. I'm also very open to seeing what people want to do with that too, beyond just logging in, right? So.
Yeah, I guess the staking key would be ideal because like even in this last fund, I aggregated multiple wallets onto a single stake key, and actually that's probably the driving force behind all the Catalyst data is, that would hold my voting record and all that sort of stuff. So it's probably a bit more complicated than just a single wallet, or multiple wallets. Yeah, very cool. So I guess some of like the ID stuff and profile pages could bring in things like because I know you've been doing the work with as a Proof Space and their Catalyst town hall, after town hall, attendee proof of participation type stuff. Would that be pulling through as well?
Yeah, that's the idea. The thing with the attach a stake key is how do we verify that that's your stake key kind of a thing. So that we'll have to figure out how to solve that challenge. I know there's the SIP for Cardano Connect, that is device to site directly, without an extension or anything along those lines. I think Eternal supports it. I don't know which other wallet supports it now, but Yeah, that's a good idea.
Love it. Keep going.
There is not a we didn't cover DREPs and all of that stuff because that's a separate proposal that will probably maybe be a separate workshop, maybe in December or something. But that's the other thing too with those wallets, part of that DREP proposal. The draft ballot thing that you talked about, there's a long roadmap for that, for where DREPs will be able to create a draft ballot and actually collaborate with their delegators on building that ballot. And or they could choose to make it private to just them as a workspace, make it public to the whole community, or just between them and their delegators. So that would be another usefulness for that Connect wallet too, to prove that you are actually delegated to this DREP, to be able to leave a comment, to be able to add things to their ballot. So there's that whole branch of wallet-based interaction with the DREPs. If DREPs get here, when is DREPs coming? Interestingly enough, you weren't the only one aggregating, and I would be curious to know. We have 56 delegations in Fund 10. People that did what you did, delegating their votes to a specific stake keys. I know MintSwap, that's how they got all their funds into one voting key. So I wonder who's using that. Is it just SBOs and nerdy folks like you, or are there DREPs in the wild doing DREPs things?
I suspect it's probably mostly SEOs. I know that Martin Lang, in his stateful scripts, did the most work towards making that possible this time round. So it was not a technical nightmare to get it done. So, but again, it's sort of CLI stuff, targeting the SPOs mostly. So I imagine they're probably doing most of it. Then of course you've got the added complexity of things like the Optim bond, Catalyst
right.
bond, where everyone could just have their vote power aggregated under a massive project team, which is a really huge threat. And I think it was really good of the Optim team to do it the way that they did, because it's better for us to have these things out in the open and talked about. And so that was very good. But yeah, the chart page, again, every time I come to it, you've got something else on there. So excellent work. But yeah, things like that, bringing that into it, some exposure on that. There's a whole load of stats coming out after this fund that have been really, really interesting. A load of people doing some really good work. So like, you're right up there. But trying to remember what the one I saw today was, or even yesterday, was it? No, I forgot now. It'll come to me in a second. I'll shout out. I'll find the link. But there's some really good stats coming, charts. Oh, it was the Zerberus team. That was it. The Zerberus team.
Oh yeah, Zebras.
Yeah, so bringing like those guys and Yotape's analysis into a platform like Lidonation would be really useful. Just aggregate all that valuable work into one place. And then again, if you're putting this on its own domain, superb.
Yeah, I did reach out to Zebras, I think yesterday or this morning. For Fund 11. So we've got the card view, the community ranking view, the quick pitch view. I would love a comparison view that shows the proposal in a Kanban style with comparing all the things. And I would love is if some kind of Zebras score is part of that, or others who's doing something similar. Those I saw in the Catalyst data there was something called an impact score. I'm not sure what that is. I have to investigate. But yeah, some of those data and some of the other teams that's working on insights. You know, maybe Buffy and I were just brainstorming a way to use AI for some of this stuff, right? Like for generating. Obviously, there was the simple summarize this proposal for me. I've seen that on Polkadot voting systems. I think maybe I've seen it in Singularity too. But you could get even more interesting with it and say how well does what the proposer wrote in the description satisfy that solution statement and or the challenge brief, you know, and some of those other interesting analysis. Yeah, so Fund 10 is gonna be Fund 11 is gonna be, I think, just as exciting and illuminating as Fund 10 was. If we have our way anyways, we'll see what we can get done in 3 months. Last call for wish lists. What's on people's wish lists?
Mr. Cabaret.
I wish this wish upon a star. I wish I'd like to know when or if you might be incorporating the statement of milestones and or proof of accomplishments. And second part of that question, closed out proposals or funded and closed proposals, any type of tracking or updates that we could be doing to see, you know, what I'm going to call impact, but I don't think that that's the way it's being used in Catalyst at this time.
Yeah, so that's what some of the incentives, contribution and incentive effort is going to be. I will probably need some help really fine-tuning what exactly the prompt would be for someone to provide that information. But I would love to, I would love to follow a proposal and bring in that information well beyond post-funding. Post-funding has always been a big part of, that's why Lido kicked off, is like what's happening to all these proposals that's happening. How can I lurk, you know, because proposals tend to get forgotten after funding. Right, but yeah, I think that's where some of the incentive stuff coming for people to help provide that information. The milestone module, I was looking at it 2 days ago. It's a different API. It's a different data structure. I'm not 100% sure it's even open. I mean, I could access some stuff, and so I want to bring it in. I think this is where the Catalyst deliver on its premise of differ greatly between iteration and frustrate. But yes, that is an agenda to bring in the milestone data. It will probably come in slowly, just as a way for people to see a progress of completion. Just probably a simple bar that this project is 25% complete, 50%. But then slowly more of that will come in too, with the milestone data. One thing that was funded as part of this proposal is some help. Oh, that's my other ask, is some help redesigning the single proposal page. There's just so much information, right? Especially the post-funding stuff. People, if you have a software product that is open source, you can actually tell us about your GitHub repo, and we will pull in all of your commit messages to display them directly on the single proposal page, so people don't have to go to GitHub. But the ifs, and then we have the monthly reports, the milestone reports, you know, all the community feedback, and just, so I think I'm not a UI UX person. Thanks for the kudos, Jonathan. We've stumbled on the current presentation, and I think the thing that we still haven't really gotten yet is the single proposal page. So it might be time to bring in a professional. So if you know any UI UX person that can help with that, maybe create some Figma or Photoshop or something, um, help us think through that page, we will love that contact. So.
We're looking for the same, actually. Maybe that's a place where we can reach out and bring the right person into a couple of projects at once.
Yeah, let's put our heads together on that.
I was just thinking
Was
about
this-
just thinking about the profile page, and if you're pulling Git commits through from there, then this will benefit the unfunded proposers as well as and people without proposals even in yet. So if you've got someone who's interested in Catalyst, like myself, never been funded, but can actually have stuff being produced and being pulled through into a Catalyst type interface, then that will add weight to the people who are coding unfunded, and that's a massive unhighlighted area of community, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember Adriano, Game Changer Adriano, and Roberto working on Project Catapult, which was the unfunded, or voted but unfunded projects, exposing them and getting them highlighted and offering people opportunity to donate to them. I thought that was a really good initiative. So be bringing something like that along as well would be fascinating. Go on, Q, sorry.
I'm gonna lower my hand before I jump in here. I was gonna piggyback on that whole game changer and catapult thing. I was really pushing for us to find a tract or a way that approved but not funded could move to Fund 11 a little, with less friction, kind of creating a more seamless experience. But man, there was very little that were approved and unfunded. This time it was mostly not approved, like an unbelievable amount. So that would actually be a good time to do it when you get that low impact. But Darlington, you also were funded for the NFT proposal completion project, and I think that would piggyback well with the catapult thing. Create a token for a finished proposal, but why not also create one for a submitted proposal, like with catapult or something like that?
Yeah. That makes sense. That's a food for thought. I think I'll jot that down when we approach that topic. One thing we're going to be piloting with the DREP proposal is the ability for you to anchor stuff that's been published to IPFS. So those draft ballots, they have an option where you can click a button, anchor to IPFS, put in a metadata transaction. We'll see how many people uses it, but it will be good to start thinking about, So our slow migration right now is, okay, open source, out of Light Nation, its own domain. And then the next thing we're thinking, okay, how can we start tapping into other distributed technology like IPFS more and more for some of this data, so it's not just on Light Nation. So yeah, meeting, I submitted a proposal, and then maybe that whole proposal is put on IPFS as well. That could have interesting implication. I think IPFS and their pub sub technology or stack or whatever is also a big part of the Catalyst Open agenda. So anyways, interesting thought. Thanks, Mr. Q, Mr. Hardfork.
Mr. Cabaret, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for what you're doing. And I've been playing with transactional metadata the past 2 days, so it's a fun spot.
Thanks for stopping by, Newman. I did take notes of that chat, Nori. Thank you very much. Obviously, if as well, I have another prompt here. If you think of other wish lists, by all means, keep contributing those. But something I was really curious and would like some feedback from people is, Where does Lido Catalyst 2 sit in your stack right now? Is this something you come to when you're coming from a particular place? Or where do you go when you leave Lido? I have zero insight in that. And I would just love to hear how does that sit with you folks? Where do you come from and where do you go?
Love that question. Yeah, I'm curious too.
What brings you here today?
I found that without effort, it became the place I looked first to learn about a proposal. Full stop. So way to go. Nice achievement on that. I'm glad you called out the search metrics, because I found that those search metrics were a really nice way to get a view of a team, you know, and with, especially with the fuzzy search, finding references to a team. How many people are calling out this organization in proposals? And then where can that go? So that's pretty cool. I wish it could be a clearer bridge to that stinking mobile app, that no matter how engaged I am, I can only handle so many hours on the voting app. And it directly spoils this opportunity to participate that we have. And here's to the heroes. We know some of them who voted on every proposal, but damn, like 10 hours to do that. It's 10 hours to fully participate. And we all know there's problems with the research, but I hope that it can become part of a stack where I can actually vote on all the proposals I want to vote on.
Yeah, for a second, that became by default just the best tool to navigate in Catalyst. And it's so much thanks to you for building all this up. And sometimes I'm just frustrated that I can't do more on Lido Nation. Like, I want to write my proposal directly in here. I want to vote directly in here. And I know it's not up to you.
Friendly place? No, you can't.
Exactly.
Get out of here.
And I know that a lot of the restrictions actually not at all up to you. It's really just on, okay, you take everything what you get already to build all the stuff. I think that's amazing what you can do already with such little data, what we have accessible actually from Catalyst. For myself, I'm just very often really impressed. Like, oh, is this dude putting all shit together? Like,
You know, Felix, I don't want to come across as a Lido maxi either. I actually, you know, it's fact number one, it's just that much better than idea scale, which is actually kind of a bummer, right? Like it shouldn't have been that easy to do as much better as you did. Now, I'm not saying it was easy to build Lido, but like, you know, the bar was so damn low. But ideally, in my world, we end up with 20 instances of Lido that can all talk to each other. Everybody making different proposal tools. And sure, some of them might be ideological in one way or another, right? But like letting all of those consume from and then feed back to the same data pool feels like such an obvious goal to me. I hope that Lido can continue to kind of drive that conversation.
and also on this, like, what we can observe very often in our space is once community really sets up good stuff, everybody takes it for granted. And it's not even thinking about how do they maintain this whole shit actually. And just because they have some funds does not mean at all they are really compensated for this stuff. And this is something what I really hope over the years we will be able to manage a little bit better, to make sure that efforts like this can be born, but can also survive strongly in a more and more competitive environment. But yeah, just massive shout out to Lido Nation team. You're awesome, really.
Well, for anybody wondering that specific question, over the course of the year where Catalyst was paused, My time wasn't compensated, and I paid close to 16,000 to the team in Kenya to keep working out of my own money. So anyways, there's the answer to that question. What's up, Mr. Cabaret?
I'm jumping on the Lido Maxi train here. I'm not a Maxi yet, because you don't import comments from IdeaScale. Okay, so we need comments because important stuff happens there. And I like the tags that you have, and I'm wondering where you came up with those tags, because that's a good search feature, really going through there. And as far as the 20,
the tags are from IdeaScale.
okay, yeah, it looks like it. They're not. There's some ridiculous ones in there that have nothing to do with Catalyst, I don't think. The 20 Lidos, self generated Lido or proposal portal, James, that's interesting, and I believe that the path to doing that is going to find an agreed upon data structure, but more that we're seeing come through in the statement of milestones and proof of accomplishments, because those are the outputs that we're judging or measuring. So perhaps that's a place to start. And it'd be funny to have to kind of redo from post funding to start over to see if we can match it up that way.
Yeah, right. I mean, I feel like I don't know about the term agree upon. If you look at the Catalyst core GitHub repository, which I've done, I've looked at the schema in there. I think that's what's going to happen. So we better agree upon that, or go create some issues on the GitHub. And I've actually put a couple of issues on there that's been triaged, and one of them were addressed. So if others have desires and yearning about what that proposal structure looks like, there's already a structure is in the GitHub. So go look at it, and if there's something's missing, do an issue. I don't think there's going to be a formal workshop. Let's talk about proposal schema. So one last question before we wrap up, or let the rest of the meeting free flow. I will probably have maybe 2 more of these discussion for this specific proposal. The work has already started. And I think the proposal itself is a 7-month project. I forgot the exact timeline. But what are some other questions that I could ask the next group of people, besides the 2 that I asked today, if any comes to mind?
What kind of spaces do you want to have the next conversations in?
Twitter is hard, but I would try, and I'll and I also like to have at the town halls. Maybe visit my friends in the East again. The Wednesday town hall, the European town hall. So.
Does anyone use the Fediverse around here? It seems like I'm the only person that's on the Fediverse.
Ooh. Say that again, Harry. You're a little scratchy.
Oh, scratchy. Does anyone use the Fediverse?
The Fediverse?
Mastodon.
Fediverse.
Oh, Mastodon. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, the federator thing, right?
Yeah, the federator thing, right? I run all the Cardano instances. I run all the Cardano stuff in the Fediverse right now.
The Fediverse.
Yeah, you should
what
go on there too. No one's on there.
You got
It's real.
full bit crusher on there, Harry. It's hard to get many of the words you're saying. Not sure why. Sorry. Darlington, I'd be curious to, I think Lido comes closer than IdeaScale to being accessible to maybe to somebody who's new to the concept of Catalyst. And I'd be curious to ask people who are experienced with Catalyst what else your proposal tool could do to greet newcomers, or to, you know, help people feel like they can get their head around this crazy governance experiment. And then I'd be curious if there was a way to set up a space with people who haven't heard about Catalyst yet. And I don't have an idea of the best place to start with that, but I feel like you're getting very close to having something that's more publicly accessible. Yeah, decentralized chat. Amen.
Right. Use the Fediverse. That's how they say it. Okay.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that word. I like that.
Right. Yeah. I think, I don't know if they're going to use the Fediverse, but I know is on what's the word? Federated. A federated structure is what's on the roadmap for Catalyst. For the open source Catalyst project that IOG is leading. But yeah, and I think IPFS is a big part of that layer, and some standard P2P library. I don't know how it gets in with Mastodon, but this is the beauty, and this is kind of why I want to open source this thing too, because other privileged folks like myself who has time to who has time to work on this can contribute other exotic things, or go put in Catalyst proposal to contribute other exotic things to this tool. And so one vision and sort of hope for this tool too is to have parity. I know IOG is building an IdeaScale replacement, but I would like to maintain parity with the two ideas IoT is building, because we don't have the same what's the word I'm looking for?
Values, principles, objective, outcome, intention.
Limitations, maybe the constraints.
Yes.
We don't have the same constraints that development team has when it comes to experimenting and iterating, right? And I will tell you, I don't think this is any secret, the IOG team have appreciated the tool, and when they were building the current iteration of what they have now, I got a lot of links from IOG's Jira boards coming in heavily for about a month. So I know, we're influencing each other, right? So something we can prototype something in a tool like this, people can use it, and then that can be disseminated to other tools like the IOG tool and whatever else versions of Lido Nations that pops around, so. Anywho, yeah, this is a great discussion. Thanks.
That's the main way you found out that you were so influential, huh? Let's be a little bit noisy about that one.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so something that's only happened in front 10, right, is, and I don't know if it's a legal thing, but I don't think IOG have ever shared the number of actual voters. At least I haven't seen it. Right. Even though that information is available.
Hmm.
I'm in Fund 5. We
Fund
could even
5,
see in Fund. Yeah, we still have been even able to see how many up and down votes proposals received. And then I closed the door.
oh, there was a regression, right? But
Mhm.
something part of why I think a lot of proposal wasn't approved is because the yes, there was the downvote, but also I would be curious to know how many proposal achieved the 1%, because that 1% is going up based off of registrations, but the participation is very different than the registration. You know, we've got 60,000 registered wallet, only 7,800 is actually voting. So it what happens if they're counting all registrations? Like what happens when we get to 100 million, right? And should that be based off of whether you voted in the last two funds, any of the last three funds or something? So yeah, there's some of these numbers that I think IOG leaves it to the community to sort of slice and dice and get into. You know, we have to step up to the plate to do it. Because as great and amazing as that team is, they're not going to think about everything. I mean, is sometimes we have to bring up the different data points to sort of start those conversation and you know. Anyway, so yeah, I would like the tool to have full parity to whatever IOG comes up with and be a full-fledged alternative to the IOG catalyst replacement, so we can do stuff like the Fediverse and other cool things. Yeah. Anyways, I will not take too much more of your time. Thank you so much. The work goes on, and thanks for this crew for keeping this space going. This is very useful. So, yeah.
Thanks for using it this way. It's good to have you here and to see that update. I hope we can do it again.
Absolutely, me too.
And I'll be thinking one thought I'll take away is on that parity question. We're getting to the point where there's interesting stories that can be told about how, let's just say, the deck is being stacked in order for parity to be possible. And I wonder what the best way to present information to people so that they can make their own decisions about what that story is moving forward, right? Ideal world, you have every advantage of maintaining that parity. But what if it happens that you're being undermined in some way? That's a story that people should know about, and not in a sensational way, but we need to be able to start telling that story so we can actually build this ecosystem in a really robust way. Appreciate you for being one of the pillars of everything that's not a founding entity. Thanks for doing it, my friend. Parity, Parity.
Dang it.
For
Dang
anyone
it.
questioning at home, you artists, you poets. Any last words before we drop?
Who, for me? What?
Anybody? Anybody?
Yeah, any last words? Do come off mute. I'll put them in the chat. I'm sure James will be happy to parody them. No. I would just strongly iterate again. So two things. We watched the analytics dashboards, as you saw earlier. And we spend time on the things you're using. If you're not using something, we forget about it until you start using it. Then we start looking at it and making it better. So, and then so if you are using something, sometimes people will apologize profusely for asking for features. Please do, right? All the things you see is because I wanted it, she wanted it, or someone DM'd me about it. So it's the tool for you. Hopefully soon by you when we open source it. So please reach out if you see this recording and you have a wish list. Reach out. It's Lido Nation everywhere: Telegram, Discord, Twitter @Lido Nation. And thanks for using the tool. That's why we keep building it.
Woo-hoo. Just spam the refresh button on your favorite pages. You can send a little love letter to the team, right? Is that how it works? Thanks for this. Anybody watching every Tuesday? What time do we start? 1800 UTC. Tuesdays, open meeting. If you ever have an idea you want to present on, you are welcome here, and we'd love to see you. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.